Welcome. In this video, we're going to talk about the CSS shadows. So you can see in this page that there are a few different types of shadows that we're using. This is the main element, main box that we have, and we're using box shadows here. So let me just click on this, and then we can look at the styles over here. So this is a style list that shows everything. As you can see, there is a box shadow here, and we can actually edit it from the style tab if you open the effects, and there they are. So this is basically how you can do box shadows. You can do it on pretty much any element that you like, yeah, that's basically the result of it. So in this case, we have two different shadows. One of them is inset, the other one is outset. You can see like this is the inset one, so I can increase the blur, for example. The offset in this case is set to 0, 0. You can change that, obviously. You can go left and right. Let me just undo that. And you can do spread. That's going to be adding more. Blur kind of inside radius, and you can set different colors, and you can make it transparent here as well if you like, to add a little bit more transparency if you're using spreads or anything like that. And for this one, this is the outside one. So in this case, it's basically when you set it to 0, 0, the offsets, it's going to be centered. So it's going to be creating like a glowing outline. So you can see, for example, if I increase the blur, you can see how it's changing over here. And like I said, you can use the spread here as well. So that's going to be an additional view. In general, the higher blur you have, the higher the elevation looks for the element. But in general, it depends on the size of the element as well. So if you have something very small, it can be 1 or 2 pixels blur, and if you have something big, it can be as big as you can see here, 50 pixels. All right. So this is how you do the box shadows, and but for text elements, you can see that it's a little bit different, right? So if I, for example, for the paragraph, if I want to add a shadow here, you can see by default it adds it to the entire element, and that's not what we want when it comes to text. So for that one, we actually have a different style, which is the text shadow. So text shadows are entered in the typography section, and it's very much like the regular box shadows, but these you can add it it applies to the individual letters. So you can see over here, I can move the text, I can move the up and Y, so we have offsets like that. And likewise, you can update the blur to make it look higher or lower, whatever your preference may be. Now, you can see here there is no inset. Usually there is no inset logic for text shadows. It's just not available in the CSS standard. And also there is no spread. But those are typically not needed. Like I said, these are usually all the cases that you will need. The other thing that we have here is this orange image, and there's a shadow here. You can see the shadow is a different element altogether. So let's talk about that for a minute. So if you look at this image element that we have, this is a PNG image with transparent background. So whenever you have images with transparent backgrounds, you can actually come over here. There's a very particular filter, and if you add a filter and you change its type to shadow, this is called the drop shadow. So the drop shadow is very much like the box shadow and text shadow, but with this one, especially if you have transparent images, it basically applies to only the visible section of the PNG image. So that can be very useful for your web designs and make it look really, really spiffy. But in this case, you can see this is not what we're doing at all. Like I can move the X, yes, I can move the Y, but ultimately I want this to be skewed down. So how do I do that? Again, we're going to be using a combination of shadows and filters to accomplish that. So if you look at the element tree again, we have the image element here, and this is there's a wrapping block around it, And the wrapping block is basically a container for these elements. So we have position relative here, and the position relative basically makes it sure that the duplicate image that we have is absolute position. So if you look at it over here, we have position absolute, top 0, left 0. So that basically puts it identical onto the actual image. So we're basically creating a replica of the actual image element. And then once we do that, we're basically applying transforms and filters to turn it into a shadow. So the translate and skew those are the primary ways that we're creating this shadow, and the brightness and the blur that basically makes it look like a shadow. So when we have brightness, so this is one of the filters that you can add, so you can actually see all the different types here. Let me just, I think I messed up something here. Okay, let's add brightness. So the brightness 0, that basically makes it, as you can see, normally we were seeing everything, but then brightness basically turns off everything and makes it into a complete black area, wherever it was populated before. And then with the blur, we can turn it into kind of like a shadow. So that's basically what we're doing here with the filters. And once we have those filters, there's also the transforms. So the main thing over here is the skew. So if you look at it, this is normally what it would look like. So if we let me just remove these one by one. So normally this is what it looks like when we have the actual image replica. But then we're basically adding the rotation first, and then a little skew, and then we're adding a little translate, and that basically how it corresponds to this. And so that's how you can apply the create a shadow duplicate of image elements with transparent backgrounds in CSS. Obviously, if you look at this in the front end, it may not work for responsive sites. So if we actually make it, try to make it responsive, this moves down or whatever, it may not be exactly creating the ideal conditions. And for those, you can create like different responsive CSS styles over here. When you add a CSS module, you can create different rules of them over here. All right, that's about it. Thank you very much for watching.